Nandi Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, The Pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, Text 42. Paduke Bharato Agrunnat Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamara Vyajana Uttame Chamara Vyajanottame Chamara Vyajanottame Vibhishanaha Sa Sugrivaha Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamaravyajanottame Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamaravyajanottame Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha. Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamaravyajanottame Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha. Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamaravyajanottame Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha. Paduke Bharato Grunnat Chamaravyajanottame Vibhishanassa Sugrivaha Shveta Chatram Marutsutaha. Paduke. The two wooden shoes. Bharataha, Lord Bharata, Agrunnat, carried, Chamara, whisk, Vyajana, fan, Uttame, very opulent, Vibhishanaha, the brother of Ravana, Sasugrivaha. With Sugriva, Shveta Chatram, a white umbrella, Marutsutaha, Hanuman, the son of the wind god. Text number 43, I'll read by myself. It is with text 42. Dhanurnishangan Chatrugnaha Sitatirthakamandalum Abhibrad Angada Khadgam Aimam Charmarsharat Drupa. This is very, very beautiful poetry. Excellent composition by Vyasadeva. There is lot of ornamental elements in this composition called Alankara. In Sanskrit poetry, there are two types of beautification of the composition. One is called Alankara, and there are 9 types of Alankaras. And there is also Rasa. That's another beautification. That the description is filled with mellows of loving devotional service. Rasa. So there are 9 types of rasas also. No, 12 types of rasas. Dvadasha rasa. So this composition itself, they analyze, those who study Sanskrit poetry, Chandas, they study this, how different elements of Alankara and different elements of Rasa are there, decorating this description in the form of these verses. This is a simple description of how Ramachandra was welcomed by different personalities. So the translation will describe that. I'll read the translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O King, Shukadev Goswami is addressing Parikshit Maharaj. Of course, Parikshit Maharaj is very alert, but nevertheless, it's a personal address to Parikshit Maharaj. O King. So just in case he is little distracted, bring back his attention. And speaking to you, you should hear attentively. Of course, Parikshit Maharaj was fully attentive. He was fully absorbed in hearing, though it is indicated by the questions he was asking in between. It was not a monologue, it was a dialogue. So also the others in the audience, there were so many saintly persons. They were all sitting and hearing. But when the description is not just one person going on describing, in between there are references to the audience headed by Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj is the primary member of the audience. It's for his sake that Shukadev Goswami arrived there, directed by Krishna, to prepare for Parikshit's quitting the body. But others took advantage. Many other saintly persons, they took advantage of sitting and hearing for 7 days and nights continuously, this Bhagavatam being spoken, Shukamukhad Amruta Drava Samyutam, that Bhagavata Amrita, they all relished the nectar of Bhagavatam, along with Parikshit Maharaj. So in between, Shukadeva Goswami will make reference to the king. O king, Lord Bharata carried Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes. Paduke Bharato Grinnat. Those shoes which he had worshipped 14 years when Rama was in exile. So, Bharata carried Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes. Sugriva and Vibhishana carried a whisk and an excellent fan. Chamara Vyajana Uttame, excellent fan. And Chamara, the whisk. Yak tail whisk, that's what it's called. Chamara. There is one type of animal in the Himalayas. It's called, I think it's called chamari. So its tail has got this hair, and that hair is very, very fine hair, white color hair. So that hair is used to make this chamara type of fan. It's not exactly a fan, it's a whisk. It's to ward away some disturbing things, if there is any disturbance by insects or some kind of mosquitoes or whatever. Chamara, whisk. And excellent fan, Vyajana Uttame, Vyajanottame. Who carried? Sugriva and Vibhishana. Vibhishana sa Sugrivaha. And Hanuman carried a white umbrella, Shweta Chatram Marutsutaha. Shweta Chatram, white umbrella, Marutsutaha, the son of the wind god, that is Hanuman. And in the 43rd verse, the description is given, Shatrughna carried a bow and 2 quivers. As long as Rama was in the forest to protect Sita and also to give company to Lakshmana, he was carrying a bow with 2 quivers filled with arrows. So now there was no need. But still, when he returned, Shatrughna carried that bow and 2 quivers of Lord Ramachandra. Sita Devi carried a water pot filled with water from holy places. Sita Tirtha Kamandalum. Kamandalu is the water pot carried by somebody who goes on pilgrimage to holy places. Sannyasis generally carry Kamandalu, always. But others, they carry only when they go to holy places for pilgrimage, a water pot. So that water pot was filled with water from holy places. And that water pot filled with water from holy places, Sita carried. All this is preparation for the coronation of Lord Rama after his return from the exile, as per his father's order. So he will be bathed with those water from the holy rivers, holy places. Tirtha, Sita Tirtha Kamandalum. Then Abhibrat Angada Khadgam. Angada carried his sword, Khadga, sword. And Haimam Charma Riksharat Nrupa. Riksharat is the king of the rikshas or bears, Jambavan. Jambavan was there in Ram Leela, he is also there in Krishna Leela. So he's so old, Jambavan. So Jambavan also is a devotee. He participated in Ram Leela and also in Krishna Leela. So Jambavan, the king of the Rikshas, carried a golden shield, Haimam Charma. Haimam Charma, made of gold. Hema means gold. So Haimam, made of gold. Charma, the shield. Golden shield was carried by Jambavan. So all this is preparation for the coronation of Lord Ramachandra. I'll read a few other verses. Text 44. Pushpakastho nutastribihi stuyamanascha vandibihi vireje bhagavan rajan grahaish chandra iboditaha. How was the scene appearing? That is described in this 44th verse. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O King Parikshit, Rajan. Again, Parikshit is addressed, Rajan. O King Parikshit. As the Lord sat on his airplane of flowers, Rama arrived in a aeroplane of flowers. Pushpaka Vimana. So, Pushpakastho Nutaha Stribihi. They worshipped. Who? Women. Offering him prayers, and they offered him prayers. Stuyamanaha. They offered wonderful prayers. The women offered him wonderful prayers as the Lord sat in his aeroplane of flowers. Vireje Bhagavan Rajan, and Stuyamanascha Vandibihi, the reciters chanted about his characteristics. Lord Rama is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is full of unlimited qualities. So his qualities were glorified by reciters, Vandibihi, who are expert in reciting verses composed glorifying his characteristics, his qualities. Then how was the appearance of that scene? So the Lord appeared like the moon with the stars and planets. Vireje Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. Grahaish Chandra Ivoditaha. It appeared like the moon had just arisen in the sky, in the horizon, and moon illuminated the sky, which was filled with stars and planets. Generally, the stars and planets in the sky are not visible in the daytime because the sun shines very brightly. So you cannot see the stars and the planets. But night sky is special. After the sun sets, then these luminaries in the sky become visible. But among all the luminaries, the brightest, the most effulgent in the night sky is the moon. Therefore, moon is called the chief of all these stars and luminaries in the night sky. So the moon shines very, very brightly at night. And of course, the daytime, the sun shines brightly. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nakshatranam aham shashi. Among the stars, I am the moon. The principal star is the moon. Among all the stars. And the sun is a special luminary in the sky, which illuminates the whole universe with light and supplies heat. Moon actually is not so much meant for light as for the soothing, cooling rays. After the daytime, people experience the heat of the sun, then they get relief by moonshine. But daytime, the heat of the sun is necessary for giving the necessary energy, sustaining life on all the planets. Sunshine sustains life on all the planets. And moonshine is spreading after a hot day, soothing, cooling rays of the moon, which gives relief for everyone at night. And moon also, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, moonshine. Somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Moonshine actually nourishes the vegetables and the fruits, makes them juicy and succulent. If the vegetables are cooked just right, not overcooked, not undercooked, then the vegetables will become very, very tasty. So making sabji is actually an art. It is not like cooking rice and dal. Rice and dal merely you have to cook to make it soft. That's all. It's very simple. It's not that difficult to cook. But vegetables, different vegetables have different characteristic. So each vegetable has to be cooked specifically to make it just cooked enough for it to give out its juice. That gives the special taste for the vegetable, in addition to the spices. So spicing in vegetables, vegetable preparation, this is for the cooks I'm telling, that you have to spice it delicately. Unlike making sambar or some dal preparation. So, or a rice preparation even. There the spice will dominate. But in a vegetable, the spice should not dominate. In a vegetable, the spice should just enhance the taste of the vegetable by blending with the vegetable. So, I have noticed this particularly in Chinese preparations. Buddhist Chinese who are Buddhists, they are pure vegetarians. So they eat only vegetables. They don't eat any meat. So they make vegetables. Each vegetable, they spice it with very, very delicate spices. The spices don't dominate the taste. They bring out the taste of the vegetable itself. Generally, they don't make mixed vegetables, because in mixed vegetables, the tastes will get mixed up and you don't get the actual taste of each vegetable. So typically, I have seen in Chinese restaurants, because I used to go only before I came to Krishna consciousness, but it is interesting. They will give you a menu booklet. It's not a menu card, it's a menu booklet. So there will be so many vegetable preparations they are listed, and they generally listed in Chinese. So we cannot make out what is this Chinese language. So we will just refer to the number. Please bring me 192, preparation 192. So that will be one particular vegetable preparation with a particular type of spicing. Beans itself, they will spice it some 20 ways. And all very, very delicate spicing. Very delicate spicing. So the point is, vegetables become juicy and succulent because of the moonshine. And Krishna says, I am that moonshine in the Bhagavad Gita. Somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Why I am describing this is, whenever you taste the juicy vegetable or the juicy fruits, of course, juicy fruits everyone has experience, you should remember Krishna, that Krishna has made this so very juicy and tasty. It's Krishna's mercy upon us. So, every time we taste nice vegetable, nice fruit, we should remember Krishna. Somo bhutva rasatmakaha. So, the moon is the most important luminary in the night sky. Most important luminary. And in the daytime, the sun, of course, shines brilliantly. And sun is the most important luminary in the daytime. So these two luminaries in the sky are actually representations of Krishna. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho. In the 7th chapter, Krishna says, I am the light of the sun and the moon. In different ways, the sun and the moon actually provide sustenance for all living entities in this world in their own way. So here the description is given, Lord Ramachandra appeared like the moon with the stars and the planets in the night sky. These are all comparisons made with nature. Nature itself is creation, even though it's called the inferior creation of the Supreme Lord. But still, even the inferior creation is very, very beautiful. Because it's a creation by Krishna. Krishna's creation. Nobody else can create like that. Even the inferior creation is very beautiful. And of course, the superior creation, the spiritual world, is excellently beautiful. So, the Supreme Lord, Ramachandra, appeared like the moon with the stars and the planets. 45 and 46, further description. Bhratrabhi Bhratra Abhinandita Sotha Sotsavam Pravishat Purim Pravishya Raja Bhavanam Gurupatni Swamataram Gurunvayasyavar Avarajan Pujita Pratyapujayat Vaidehi Lakshmanashchaiva Yathavat Samupeyatuhu. The meaning is, translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Bhratra, referring to his brother Bharata, having been welcomed by his brother Bharata, Lord Ramachandra entered the city of Ayodhya in the midst of a festival. Sa Utsavam Pravishat Purim. Sa Utsavam, in the midst of a festival. So just the arrival of Lord Ramachandra to Ayodhya was a big festival. Was a big festival. And when he entered the palace, Raja Bhavanam, the palace, Pravishya, he offered obeisances to all the mothers, including Kaikeyi and the other wives of Maharaj Dasharatha, and especially his own mother Kausalya. Swamataram. He paid obeisances to his own mother Kausalya. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is worshipable by everybody. But to teach us how to respect superiors, he himself is offering obeisances to his mother Kausalya. He is also offering obeisances to Guru Patni. This is the Vedic culture, that there are 7 kinds of mothers. One's own mother, Swamataram, and then Guru Patni, the wife of the spiritual master. Now, in this case, Guru refers to the father. Father is the first Guru as soon as a child takes birth. Father and mother. So, the father is the first Guru. So, here Guru Patni refers to the other wives of Maharaj Dasharatha, including Kaikeyi. It's important. Kaikeyi was the cause for Ramachandra to go to the forest in exile. But he never carried any bitter feelings that this stepmother of mine, because she wanted her own son to become the king, so she exiled me to the forest. He never had any bitter feeling. The description is given in the beginning. When he heard from his father he had to go to the forest, when he's about to be coronated as the king, succeeding his father. So when he heard from his father he had to go to the forest, he happily accepted that and went away without any bad feeling, without any ill feeling. He went away to the forest. So the same feeling he had when he returned, and he paid his obeisances to Kaikeyi and the other wives of Maharaj Dasharatha. Sumitra, another queen of Dasharatha, Lakshmana and Shatrughna's mother, Sumitra. To her also he paid his obeisances. After that, Gurun Vayasya Avarajan, Gurun, spiritual masters, Vasishta and the other spiritual preceptors. He also bowed down to them. He offered obeisances. He also offered obeisances to the spiritual preceptors such as Vasishta. Vasishta was the chief of all the spiritual preceptors of Rama. And Vayasya means friends of his own age. He greeted them. And younger friends, Avarajan, younger friends, they worshipped him. And he returned their respectful obeisances. Pujita pratyapujayat. Pratyapujayat. They worshipped him and he returned their respectful obeisances. In the same way, Vaidehi Lakshmanashchaiva yathavat samupe yatuhu. Similarly, Lakshmana and Mother Sita also, they greeted everyone who welcomed them properly. In this way, they all entered the palace because 3 of them had gone to the forest. Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. So all the 3 of them were absent from the palace for 14 years. So on their return, everyone was very happy to welcome them back. So they returned the greetings. Pratyapujayat. Then 47, text number 47. Putran swamataras tastu pranam stanva ivothitaha aropya anke abhishinchantyo bashpa oghair vijahu shuchaha. Translation. Upon seeing their sons, the mothers of Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna immediately arose like unconscious bodies returning to consciousness. All the 4 were missing from the palace. Rama and Lakshmana had gone on exile. Of course, Lakshmana was not exiled, but he accompanied Rama. to the forest, as did Sita. But Bharata, he refused to occupy the throne. According to his mother's wish, he did not occupy the throne. Instead, he went to Rama and said, please come back. I want you to sit on the throne and rule the kingdom. You are the eldest. You deserve to sit on the throne, not me. I am the younger one. But Rama refused to return because it was the order of his father that he should go to the forest and be in exile for 14 years. Order of the father. So, carrying out the order of the father, he did not come back. He did not return as Bharata requested. So then Bharata requested, please give me your shoes, wooden shoes. So Rama gave. Because Bharata requested so much. Rama gave, and Bharata was ruling through the ministers and the Brahmana advisors, keeping Rama's wooden shoes on the throne. That actually Rama only is the king. But in his absence, while he was in the forest, the ministers and the Brahmana advisors, they carried out the administration on behalf of Rama, as per the instructions of Bharata. So Bharata also was staying in a camp outside Ayodhya in a place called Nandigrama, and he was undergoing austerity. Till Rama's return, he was undergoing austerity. He was, as is described earlier, Rama heard that in his absence his brother Bharata was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow. This is a vrata. Just eating little barley just for sustaining the body. Covering his body with bark of trees and wearing matted locks of hair and lying on a mattress of kusha. He had undertaken this vrata. That till Rama returns, I am not going to eat normally. I am not going to sleep in a royal palace, befitting a prince. No. So he had undertaken this austerity. So now Bharata returned to the palace along with Ramachandra. His mother Kaikeyi was very, very happy. How happy she was? As if unconscious bodies returned to consciousness. The mother, in the absence of the son, she will be like almost lost her life. She'll be like without consciousness. But as soon as the sons returned, they were very, very, very happy. So they were so happy that with the tears of joy, they bathed their sons, placing them on their laps. So even though the sons are now grown up, still the mother's love for the son is the same. Mothers can testify to that. Sometimes the sons feel embarrassed. The mothers treat the sons as their son when they're grown up. But actually it's a fact that mother's love for the son is the same. Whether they are small or they are grown up, it's the same. So that is described here. The mothers seated their sons on their laps and bathed them with tears, thus relieving themselves of the grief of long separation, 14 years separation. They were relieved of the grief of separation, so they were very, very, very happy. So happy that They could not contain the joy, therefore there were tears flowing. Another place Prabhupada explains, there's a difference in tears of joy and tears of grief. Tears of joy are warm and tears of grief are cold. Something like this. I don't remember exactly. You remember? Opposite. Okay. Tears of joy are cool and tears of grief are hot. Somewhere Prabhupada explains this. So they shed tears of joy on the return of their sons. And they bathed them, so much joy they were expressing, they were feeling when their sons returned. That's described here. Bashpa oghair vijakhu chuchaha. They gave up their lamentation due to separation by bathing them with the tears of joy after seating them on their laps. Then after that, 48, Jata nirmuchya vidhivat kulavruddhai samam guruhu abhyashinchat yathayvendram chatussindhu jaladibhihi. Ramachandra was the family priest or spiritual master Vasishta Guruhu had Lord Ramachandra cleanly shaved, freeing him from his matted locks of hair. When he was in forest exile, he was not tending to his hair, simply tied them into a bunch. And no shaving, no combing, no washing, nothing. So that is the life of austerity in the forest, especially in the forest. So now his exile period was over, he was cleanly shaved and he was seated on the throne of Ayodhya. With the cooperation of the elderly members of the family, Vasishta performed the bathing ceremony for Lord Ramachandra, Abhisheka, that's called Abhisheka, bathing ceremony, with water of the 4 seas and with other substances, Chatussindhu Jaladibhihi, just as it was performed for King Indra, Yathayvendram. Indra in the heavenly planets, the Devatas, they perform Abhisheka because he is the king of the heavenly planets. So like that, Ramachandra was bathed with the water from the 4 seas, Chatussindhu Jaladibhihi. It's considered auspicious to bathe with the ocean waters and the water from other holy places. Text 49. Evam krita shirasnanaha suvasa sragvi alankritaha swalankritaihi suvasobhir bhratribhir bharyaya babhau. Lord Ramachandra, fully bathed and his head clean shaven, dressed himself very nicely and was decorated with a garland and ornaments. Thus he shone brightly, surrounded by his brothers and wife, who were similarly dressed and ornamented. Till Ramachandra assumed the throne, even his wife and his brothers were not dressing themselves very nicely. They were simply covering their bodies with some simple cloth. But as soon as Ramachandra came back and was seated on the throne for coronation, for performing Abhisheka, after the Abhishek, he was dressed very nicely and he was shining very brightly, along with his brothers and his wife. All of them dressed very nicely, and they also decorated themselves with nice ornaments. So this is the beautiful description in the Valmiki Ramayana, Rama Pattabhisheka, coronation of Lord Rama by performing the Abhisheka and after that dressing him and ornamenting him with very beautiful dress and ornaments. So that scene is the ending of the Ramayana actually. And that is beautifully described by Valmiki in the Ramayana. So that is briefly summarized by Shukadev Goswami here. He shone brightly, surrounded by his brothers and wife who were similarly dressed and ornamented. So the next verse is the description of Rama's ruling Ayodhya, for which there is a very big purport. Next class we will discuss that. So I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.